A single 14-minute phone call has shattered the royal household, exposing a betrayal so explosive it threatens the monarchy itself. While recovering from cancer, King Charles III discovered that Camilla, the woman he fought decades to marry, had been secretly undermining him, questioning his strength, mocking his health, and discussing future power plays with a foreign figure. The moment Charles heard her words, everything changed. Rage replaced loyalty. Duty replaced love. And now, for the first time since taking the throne, the king has made a decision that will rewrite royal history. He wants a divorce immediately. The shocking discovery. On the morning of February 12, 2025, a senior aide assigned to St. James's Palace was reviewing encrypted call logs tied to royal communication lines. During a routine system audit, they intercepted a strange incoming call flagged under an alias. Upon playback, the voice was unmistakably Camilla Parker Bowles, speaking to what appeared to be a foreign diplomatic advisor. The conversation lasted just under 14 minutes, but its content left the staffer frozen. He immediately escalated the tape to royal intelligence. The call's content was laced with chilling implications. Camilla was heard casually undermining King Charles III, referring to his current health battle as a weakness the monarchy can't afford. She called him emotionally fragile and incapable of future leadership. She also hinted at having influence over internal royal decision-making, including future visibility of Prince William and Catherine. The tone was not personal, it was strategic. She was discussing legacy manipulation, succession timelines, and soft power leverage with someone outside the UK. By 5 p.m., a red alert briefing was delivered to Sir Lionel Grayson, head of Royal Protection. He confirmed the foreign number belonged to an envoy from the United Arab Emirates. Previously hosted at Sandringham in late 2024, multiple intelligence officials began immediate authentication of the recording. A secondary copy was made and passed via encrypted courier to Princess Anne and William's private teams. What had been a quiet audit had just ignited a constitutional fire. By midnight, Charles, recovering at Highgrove House from his ongoing cancer treatment, was briefed in person. The monarch reportedly listened in silence, face pale, upon hearing Camilla's line, "If he falls, someone must rise." Charles allegedly said, "That voice, that betrayal." Witnesses say he left the room without speaking another word, retreating to his private chapel. The man who had once defied the world to be with her had just heard her strategizing his downfall. The palace walls, long used to silence and secrets, now echoed with quiet fury. What began as a technical mishap had unmasked an act of betrayal so calculated, so intimate, it tore through the royal household like wildfire. Camilla's voice, once her tool of charm, was now evidence of treason. And for King Charles, battling illness and leading a fractured family, this was more than personal. It was national. The betrayal demanded a response, and he would not delay it. Charles's fury. In the early hours of February 13th, royal aides witnessed a sight rarely seen. King Charles III, enraged. Inside the green drawing room at Clarence House, Charles slammed the secure dossier on a lacquered table and declared the call a treasonous violation of marital and sovereign trust. He demanded immediate convening of a midnight crisis council, pulling in legal advisors, MI5 representatives, and key senior royals. One aide described the scene as like the aftermath of a coup attempt. For a monarch undergoing intensive chemotherapy, betrayal from the one person closest to him wasn't just humiliating, it was destabilizing. Charles had already weathered weeks of treatment at St. Bartholomew's Hospital, with a publicly announced prognosis on January 8th. And now, just 36 days later, his trust and image had been shattered. "She gutted him," whispered one royal aide. "Not with force, but with strategy." The king was not just heartbroken, he was activated. Charles called for historical legal counsel, digging into royal precedents dating back to the 1936 abdication crisis. He also reviewed personal correspondences from the Queen Mother, where she warned about alliances formed behind velvet doors. Charles began cross-referencing past engagements where Camilla appeared to assert control over foreign relations. He ordered a review of her travel records from 2018 to 2024, including her solo visits to Dubai, Canada, and Germany. By February 15th, Charles had summoned Lord Percival Stratton, one of the royal family's most discreet constitutional lawyers. The mandate was clear: begin drafting terms for a potential private royal separation, with Camilla's titles, public funding, and housing under review. Charles was done being manipulated. From this point on, his reign would no longer carry the weight of her ambitions. The king was readying a crown without her. What was once a whispered rift had exploded into a royal crisis. Charles wasn't simply reacting, he was recalibrating. His decisions would not only determine the fate of his marriage, but the public trust in a monarchy already tested. As advisors scrambled to contain the fallout, one truth became clear. This was no longer about Camilla's words, it was about her intent. And the king had decided the woman who stood beside him at the coronation would no longer walk at his side. Camilla's power games exposed. In the aftermath of the leaked call, a deeper investigation began into Camilla's strategic relationships, especially her growing influence among foreign dignitaries and senior members of the British press. A dossier labeled Shadow Sovereignty began circulating among palace intelligence. The contents were damning: patterns of subtle manipulation, selective leaks, and carefully orchestrated public narratives. Since at least 2020, Camilla had been more than consort. She had been campaigner-in-chief for a crown sculpted in her image. One email trail, traced back to October 2023, revealed Camilla's correspondence with 2 foreign embassies and a now disgraced tabloid editor. In one exchange, she described Charles as ill-suited for longevity and discussed hypothetical media strategies post-transition. She also referenced Project Bowles, an apparent initiative to groom Tom Parker Bowles for an expanded advisory role in court protocol. Though unofficial, the implication of dynastic ambition alarmed all levels of court governance. In another confidential memo dated November 19, 2024, Camilla reportedly lobbied against increased royal access for Prince William and Catherine, citing optics management. The document, recovered from a palace cloud archive, showed attempts to restrict their appearances at Commonwealth Day, Remembrance Sunday, and a proposed 2025 royal tour. Her moves were interpreted as gatekeeping, restricting the visibility of the true heirs in favor of preserving her own public role. Now fully exposed, Camilla's web of influence was collapsing. Royal aides were instructed to freeze all pending initiatives bearing her name. The communications office, once partially under her control, was reassigned to Anne and William's media team. Overnight, Camilla became a figure of suspicion inside the very house she once tried to command. Her ambition, once concealed behind charm and tradition, had become her undoing. William and Catherine pulled into the storm. On the evening of February 16, 2025, Prince William received a confidential memo labeled Classified Tier 1 Windsor. Inside was a transcript of Camilla's intercepted call, along with a supplemental briefing on her suspected media influence. Sources say William read the report in his Kensington Palace office, remaining silent for 22 minutes. When he looked up, his expression was cold. He immediately summoned his father's chief of staff and demanded a direct meeting with Charles within 24 hours. Catherine, briefed moments later in the private quarters, reportedly clasped the folder and muttered, "She's done it again." For Catherine, who had endured Camilla's microaggressions for over a decade, this was more than palace intrigue. It was war. Within 48 hours, the Princess of Wales initiated a closed-door summit with Princess Anne and Lady Sarah Chatto, bringing the Queen's legacy circle into alignment. The goal: protect the monarchy from implosion. The plan: support Charles, isolate Camilla, and stabilize succession. By February 18th, William had issued a veiled public statement through royal media. In times of uncertainty, the crown stands upon duty, not ego. The press interpreted it as a direct condemnation of Camilla's betrayal. That same day, he cancelled 2 events in Manchester and Oxford to hold emergency planning sessions at Windsor Castle. Catherine contacted longtime royal allies, including Lord Chamberlain Andrew Parker, requesting a formal inquiry into the Queen Consort's press entitlements. Within royal walls, the message was clear. The heirs had drawn a line. William and Catherine were no longer merely symbols of modern royalty. They were the monarchy's firewall. Their joint decision to shield Charles and restructure palace operations was received with quiet approval by both Buckingham and Parliament liaisons. Together, the Wales household positioned themselves not just as successors, but as protectors. With William and Catherine fully engaged, the palace was no longer fragmented. It was fortified. Camilla's past influence, once unchecked, was now met with a coordinated royal resistance. What she had hoped would stay whispered in shadows was now being handled under the scrutiny of heirs and the memory of a queen who never wore a crown: Diana. And as Camilla's defenses weakened, public opinion was about to deal the final blow. The Queen's image crumbles. By February 19th, select elements of Camilla's leaked phone call made their way to royal correspondents at The Guardian and Sky News. Within 72 hours, hashtags like #QueenOfBetrayal and #CamillaExposed trended globally. Clips from the 1993 Tampongate scandal resurfaced, drawing painful parallels between past manipulation and present betrayal. Public outrage ignited in the form of thousands of comments and royal petitions demanding Camilla's removal from royal duties. The monarchy was not just under fire, it was on trial. Special words: February 19th, Charge, Queen of Betrayal, 1993. Tampongate scandal, 72 hours. At Clarence House, Camilla's staff reportedly began mass deleting emails and cancelling upcoming events, including appearances at the Commonwealth Literature Gala and a UN Women's Luncheon scheduled for March 1st. Staff morale sank. Anonymous employees described her private team as combative, paranoid, and silent. Senior royal guards reassigned their posts at Charles's request, minimizing Camilla's access to secure locations. One insider said, "The Queen is now treated more like a threat than a consort." Back in Parliament, MPs began questioning the royal budget, especially the £2.3 million annually allocated to Camilla's public functions. A televised segment on BBC4 interviewed constitutional historian Dr. Eliza Trent, who remarked, "This isn't just scandal, it's a stress test for hereditary monarchy." Calls for increased transparency erupted across British media. Even the Times, historically soft on Camilla, ran the headline, "A Queen's Ambition, a Nation's Disgrace." Princess Anne was spotted on February 20th exiting a closed meeting at Downing Street, prompting speculation of deeper coordination between royal and political entities. Meanwhile, Catherine's social media appearance in a red tartan blazer, similar to one Diana wore in 1992, was widely interpreted as symbolic defiance. Public polling by YouGov showed a 68% drop in Camilla's favorability over 5 days. The people had spoken, and they were choosing Diana's side once again. Camilla's mask of elegance had crumbled beneath the weight of public scrutiny. Her decades-long campaign to secure legitimacy now lay in ruins. The crown, once shrouded in discretion, was cracking open for the world to see. And the fallout wasn't just reputational, it was institutional. But while Camilla floundered in isolation, King Charles was already preparing the next step, and it would come not in headlines, but in legal documents. A quiet yet formal separation begins. By February 21st, 2025, Charles's legal team, led by Lord Percival Stratton, began drafting a private royal disengagement order. Unlike a traditional divorce, this arrangement would remove Camilla from all public-facing duties without full dissolution of marriage, protecting both royal dignity and legal standing. Initial drafts included revocation of her queen consort title, reassignment of her residences, and a quiet cessation of her role in state protocols. Camilla reportedly refused to leave Clarence House, barricading herself in the West Wing for over 72 hours. Staff described her as erratic, pacing for hours, making phone calls, and shouting about betrayal. She declined all public appearances and issued a brief statement via her spokesperson, citing health fatigue. In reality, she had been formally barred from representing the crown as of February 23rd. Charles had signed the executive order at 9 a.m. that morning. Negotiations over finances and property began quietly through Middle Temple barristers, known for discreet royal settlements. Discussions included the Lwiniwermod estate, her future security team, and the dissolution of her personal charities like the Reading Room. Though legally still his wife, Camilla was now officially no longer a working royal. Her image was pulled from upcoming royal mint releases, and palace tour guides were instructed to update brochures by March 2025. Charles, meanwhile, remained calm and deliberate. He reportedly told his private secretary, "This is not revenge, this is preservation." The public would not hear him speak directly, but insiders confirmed he had begun writing a personal statement to be released in early April following Easter engagements. For now, he would let his actions speak. Camilla had written her chapter. Charles was ready to end it. The crown at risk. By February 24th, 2025, members of Parliament quietly requested an emergency briefing with senior constitutional advisors. Concerns centered on whether Camilla's actions, caught on tape undermining the monarch, would compromise national stability. A report distributed to 41 members of Parliament highlighted 3 key risks: foreign interference, manipulation within the royal household, and sudden destabilization of the line of succession. For the first time since the 2019 prorogation crisis, the crown itself was under political scrutiny. Public trust began slipping rapidly. A YouGov poll released on February 25th revealed that 63% of citizens felt Camilla's continued presence threatened the monarchy's credibility. Editorial boards across the UK, from The Telegraph to The Guardian, published warnings that failure to act could weaken Charles's moral authority. Some MPs even suggested revisiting the 1689 Bill of Rights, which outlines protections against sovereign compromise. The pressure was swelling from all sides. Meanwhile, pro-monarchy groups held rallies in London, Edinburgh, and Cardiff, where crowds chanted support for William and Catherine. Attendance estimates reached over 19,000 people in just 2 days. Their message was clear. They trusted the Waleses to safeguard the crown. Commentators noted this was the first time since 1997, after Diana's death, that public affection had shifted this dramatically toward the next generation. The writing on the wall was unmistakable. Behind palace walls, Charles confronted the reality that if he did nothing, the monarchy might fracture. His advisors warned that maintaining ties with Camilla risked a constitutional standoff between Parliament and the Crown. That night, Charles reportedly told a confidant, "I survived cancer. I will not let the monarchy die of deception." The king understood what must come next. To save the institution, he would have to sever the marriage. The crown had stood for centuries, but never on fault lines this fragile. Camilla's actions weren't just disrespectful, they were destabilizing. The nation was watching, Parliament was shifting, and the royal family was preparing for a seismic change. But Camilla wasn't ready to surrender, backed into a corner and rapidly losing influence. She prepared for the fight of her life, a desperate attempt to rewrite the narrative and salvage her crumbling crown. And that desperation would only deepen the crisis. Camilla's desperate fight to keep the crown. On February 26, 2025, Camilla issued a statement through her spokesperson claiming the leaked call was taken wildly out of context, insisting that she had been discussing health logistics and foreign sympathy outreach. Her message reached royal reporters by 7:15 a.m., but it backfired almost immediately. Analysts pointed out inconsistencies between her explanation and the recording's content. Within 8 hours, her statement was torn apart by legal experts on national television. Camilla then attempted to reshape her public image through her long-trusted media allies, including a former editor of the Daily Mail. Leaks began surfacing, claiming she was the victim of a targeted smear campaign orchestrated by William I. Particularly bold article accused the Prince of Wales of overstepping into kingly duties. But by February 27th, the palace press office publicly refuted the claims. The counterattack had failed. Behind closed doors, Camilla tried halting the legal proceedings by appealing directly to Charles. She requested a private audience at Highgrove that lasted 22 minutes on February 28th. Witnesses described her tone as desperate, playing the role of the misunderstood spouse. But Charles refused every plea. For the first time since their 2005 marriage, he ended the meeting by asking her to leave the estate immediately. This was the point of no return. International repercussions soon followed. Foreign dignitaries from France, Jordan, and Japan canceled upcoming meetings with Camilla, citing scheduling adjustments. Diplomats privately admitted the cancellations were intentional to avoid association with scandal. Even members of her extended family distanced themselves, including Tom Parker Bowles, who withdrew from a public food festival scheduled for March 3, 2025. Camilla's empire was dissolving rapidly. Camilla's attempts to rewrite the narrative only exposed how far she was willing to go to cling to power. But while she was drowning in desperation, the world was looking elsewhere, to the past and to a woman whose warnings now echoed louder than ever. Princess Diana's voice, once dismissed by the institution, was rising from history to illuminate the truth. And in her legacy, the world found clarity. Camilla's downfall had been predicted decades ago. Diana's legacy rises from the shadows. By March 4, 2025, Diana's old interviews dominated British media again. A BBC rerun of the 1995 Panorama interview drew 6.8 million viewers, repeating the iconic line, "There were three of us in this marriage." Social media exploded with side-by-side comparisons of Camilla's leaked call and Diana's early warnings. The public saw a prophecy fulfilled, betrayal repeating itself under the same names, the same palace walls, the same pain. Across London, memorial spaces filled with flowers. At Kensington Gardens, over 4,000 tributes were placed in a single evening, with handwritten signs reading, "Diana warned us" and "Protect William." Young adults who hadn't even been born before 1997 shared clips of Diana speaking about manipulation and emotional warfare within the royal system. The past wasn't resurfacing, it was roaring back with vindication. In response, William issued a carefully worded private message circulated to senior palace offices. "My mother's strength guides us. Her truth lights our path." Though not a public statement, the phrasing was leaked by March 6th, fueling nationwide discussion. Catherine attended a youth event wearing a sapphire brooch, once owned by Diana, symbolically reinforcing continuity of spirit. Royal commentators declared, "Diana is speaking through her children now." Inside Buckingham Palace, Charles revisited Diana's archived letters written between 1984 and 1996, stored in a private drawer. Sources say he spent 3 hours reading notes that warned about people who smile with ambition. Moved to tears, he reportedly whispered, "You were right." For Charles, this was more than remembering Diana. It was awakening to truths she tried so hard to expose. With Diana's voice echoing again, the monarchy had been morally realigned. The betrayal had been exposed. The public had chosen their side. And Charles had finally seen the truth without distortion. All that remained was action. Real, final, irreversible action. The time had come for Charles to restore the crown's integrity and reshape the future by choosing loyalty over history, truth over comfort, and legacy over love. The next royal era. On March 8, 2025, Charles convened a confidential constitutional meeting with Lord Chamberlain Andrew Parker, Princess Anne, and Prince William. The topic: restructuring the monarchy post-Camilla. Charles assigned William expanded constitutional authority, granting him oversight of state correspondence, regional tours, and emergency briefings. This was the largest shift in royal responsibility since the early reign of Queen Elizabeth II in 1952. Catherine's role expanded equally. She would now serve as the lead representative for Commonwealth humanitarian initiatives, beginning with events scheduled for April 2025. Her media ratings soared, with approval reaching 91%, the highest of any royal since Diana. Buckingham Palace quietly updated official documentation, listing William and Catherine as the monarchy's primary forward-facing figures. The House of Wales was officially rising. Meanwhile, Charles finalized legal papers for a formal separation from Camilla. The final announcement was scheduled for March 25, 2025. Just weeks after the scandal broke, Camilla's title would be reduced to Princess Consort, and her public funding would be redirected to youth and mental health programs championed by William and Catherine. The recalibration was not just personal. It was symbolic, restorative, and historic. Finally, on March 21st, Charles, William, Catherine, and Anne appeared together at Buckingham Palace for the first time since the crisis began. A crowd of over 40,000 filled the mall. Their united front, the monarch, the future king, and the monarchy's moral backbone, signaled a new dawn. Camilla's era had ended. The era of duty, legacy, and Diana's true heirs had begun. The walls of Buckingham Palace have witnessed countless storms, from abdications to scandals, betrayals to heartbreak. But nothing compares to the crisis now unfolding. After hearing Camilla's treasonous phone call, Charles understood something devastating. The woman he trusted most had become the monarchy's greatest internal threat. Her words were not slips of frustration. They were strategies, manipulations, and plans for a future where Charles was weakened and she held the reins. That call didn't just wound a husband, it endangered a king. And so, in an act of strength few expected from a man battling months of cancer treatment, Charles chose the crown over the marriage he once defended with his reputation, his dignity, and even Diana's peace. His choice is the ultimate declaration: no betrayal will sit on the throne. As the divorce proceedings quietly begin behind palace doors, the royal family braces for aftershocks. Prince William has stepped forward as the rightful protector of the monarchy, guiding his father and preparing to stabilize the institution for the future. Catherine, dignified as ever, stands as the symbol of what the crown should be: graceful, principled, incorruptible. Meanwhile, Camilla finds herself isolated, scrutinized, and rapidly losing every ounce of influence she once wielded. Her legacy, already stained by decades of controversy, now faces its final collapse. No press spin, no familiar allies, no strategic charm can erase the words caught on that recording. Through this crisis, the spirit of Princess Diana rises once more. Her warnings echo louder. Her truth finally stands unchallenged. And as Charles prepares to reshape the monarchy without Camilla, a new royal era emerges, one built on loyalty, clarity, and the unwavering strength of the House of Wales. The crown survives, the betrayer falls, and history begins a new chapter.